Hello, my friends, family, esteemed colleagues. When I'm trying to explain health, I often mention that the body has programs that run it to basically control the working of this robot. I call it Autopilot of Healing. And I was asked by several people to explain this Autopilot of Healing. How does that work? The easiest way to explain it is if we take example of something that we are more familiar with. And I usually mention how it happens with the plane, but let's say for this conversation, we'll take a complex boat, let's say twin screw motor sailor. So it has a sails and has two engines, two propellers. And it is taking its journey. So you start sailing in perfect conditions. There is no current that goes against you or that affects you. There is light breeze, no waves. So you adjust the sails correctly, so they have a proper curvature to create a pull. And you engage maybe only one engine. It's enough to maintain desired speed, hull speed, because if you go too fast, the boat starts pushing water, which creates more resistance. So the boat has to adjust the speed to its hull to be most efficient. Shape of a hull. And let's say, for sake of this argument, that the engines are gasoline driven, not diesel. So you should have a proper gasoline in there. You have gasoline filters. You have at least two sets independent. So if one filter gets clogged, you can switch to the other one. And, you set your course on autopilot to maintain the course straight towards the destination. And all of a sudden, there is a shift in current. You enter area where current is going, let's say from your starboard, from your right side, and now it starts pushing the boat down. You want to go this way, but the boat is going there, but because of the current, it flows with the current, so now it will miss the target. So autopilot automatically senses this and turns the rudder a little bit to make more resistance towards that side, and it makes boat pointing a little bit over the target, but considering the flow and the speed, the autopilot will adjust the boat to go straight to the target, but it will be slightly crooked. So if you have a monitor that shows you the position of the boat, it will show that the boat is not facing the target, it's shooting a little bit above it. But GPS tells you, no, you are going okay, you are maintaining the line, straight line to the target. Let's say now you start having a wind, and the wind blows from the turns into same direction of the current, so hits you more on the side. So autopilot right away readjusts the sails. It has to release the boom a little bit, has to slack the forward sails to change the shape of the sail so it doesn't lean the boat, but it pulls it. At the same time, you are still being pushed, so the rudder will adjust a little bit more and make more drag, but not significantly, because the sails are offsetting the situation and you are gaining speed actually. Now, as you are gaining speed, the angle of the wind changes because you are going faster this way. So apparent speed changes, which needs additional readjustment of sails, and everything is fine. So now the sails are not the way they are supposed to be according to your monitor, but for given conditions, it is the best possible setup. And now let's say the wind increased substantially. So now it's actually leaning the boat and trying to push it. So now the rudder has to offset it, but at the same time, okay, autopilot discovers it is best to reduce the sails. So now it throws the sails in a little bit. So you have less sail exposed. This still maintains the proper pull because adjustment is done. But now the waves are increasing and you are heading into the waves. So now they are slowing you down, they're pushing, but the engine, the speed was adjusted to be, let's say, going 10 knots. Now you are slowing down. So autopilot increases the engine. It cannot cope with it, so it starts the second engine. So now you have two engines running. As the conditions get worse, higher waves, more wind, stronger current, all working against you. So now the leeward engine, the engine that is on which side, contrary to the wind, where you're being pushed, this engine starts running a little stronger. So take pressure off the rudder a little bit, it makes the boat go more into the wind. So autopilot is adjusting many things. But let's say there was bad fuel or sediment in the tank. So now pitching of the boat swirls the fuel. So now you're getting more debris and it's clogging the filter. So now boat cannot get proper amount of fuel. It does not work correctly, and fuel being dirty doesn't burn that well, so engine starts smoking more. Should require readjustment for this kind of a fuel. But let's say the mechanism, the pilot, switches the filters. So now you know that normally after a certain amount of hours you switch the fuel filters to replace one and run on the other. But now autopilot is much faster than you thought. So now you have a individual, could be a child that does not know much about autopilot, doesn't know much about sailing, and looks at the monitor and sees that the boat is not pointing correctly and the sails are not adjusted correctly to the original conditions as when we started. And it starts to tweaking things. Okay, well, we should be having more sail out, pulls out the sail. The angle, the boom should be positioned this way because shape of the sail has to be this way and this way. Yeah, for conditions before, but these are new conditions. So now, all of a sudden, boat struggles. The boat is receiving more resistance through the sails than actual pull. So the engines have to work harder. They work harder, they may start overheating. So, and again, get struggled to keep the target. All of a sudden you start losing the target because you are adjusting everything the way it should be when you started the trip. But because conditions have shifted, the autopilot had to make many adjustments to the boat, so it keeps going towards the target. But now, since you are not aware of the conditions, you are just in the cabin, you are looking at the instruments, you are looking at the monitor, and you say, well, I don't understand. The boat is going where it should go, but engines are running too fast, using too much fuel, creating too much heat, the wrong filter is switched on, the sails were too short, adjusted incorrectly to the conditions as they were when they were perfect when we have left the harbor. So how come that all the parameters are kind of wrong, but the boat still keeps creeping towards the destination? As soon as you start readjusting, all of a sudden, the boat starts sliding away from the target. Well, this is exactly what is happening with human body. When conditions are perfect, the conditions are the ambient. And the ambient is not only where the body is, but what is happening within the body, the adjustments, so the body works correctly. All of a sudden, there are changes in this environment. One of the change is the fuel is not correct. You are not eating correctly. So instead, on a gasoline type of engine, bringing gasoline, well, you mix this gasoline with a little bit of diesel. This slows down the burning process, which means you have to readjust the timing of the engine when the spark is going to be injected. So this way there is more time for combustion. So you burn the fuel better, engine becomes more efficient and smokes less. So by error in a food, now you need to adjust the engine. Autopilot cannot do this. You need mechanic to go down there and now readjust the timing. Our body does not need mechanic, doctor. Doesn't need doctor because it has its own system monitoring. And this system we call genetic pool. And which genes are active and which genes are not active, we call it the genetic expression or genome. We have many genes, but only few are active. Most of them are not active. Okay, so if they're not active, We call them the junk genes, because we simply don't understand it. So gene, they receive the information, and the information is frequency, because everything runs on frequencies, energy in particular frequency. And if the frequency shifts, well, telomeres of a gene, telomeres of the cell, of the chromosome, they're like these antennas, and they pick up the vibration, and vibration is being pulled into the chromosome, and the gene that resonates with this vibration will start resonating and will start readjusting the functioning of the cell, the production, what the cell is going to do. So you change the vibration, and all of a sudden hormones change, because this is how body communicates. Now we have the child that does not understand it correctly and says, well, you see, for your age, and you are male or female, whatever, level of this hormone should be this much, but your hormones have changed. It's lower or higher. Where is this hormone being produced? Oh, let's say thyroid gland. We have a problem with thyroid gland. It's producing too much of this hormone, or not enough. We got to do something about this thyroid gland. So first, let's supplement this hormone, which not enough is being produced. So here we'll inject it, or we'll give you a pill. So now we boost this hormone. Well, genes have adjusted the level of hormone so the body works the most efficiently in given circumstance, which is not perfect, because there is some wrong vibration. Through genetic reaction, body is resolving the problem so it can survive in this vibratory field. We call this adaptation. So the body adjusts to it, adapts. I say very often, if you take cyanide, you put a little drop on your lip, you start foaming, you are dead in seconds. But if you take this drop of cyanide and put it in a big bowl of soup and mix it well, and then have just 1 teaspoon of the soup, the vibration of cyanide is there, but it's very diluted. So when it goes into your body does not become resistant to it. We have this motion that you take this thing and it makes your body resistant to certain disease. This is not true. What the body does is starts adapting to it. Genetically, it starts shifting so the body can survive in the presence of this vibration. And since there is a very light impulse of this, it cannot shift the vibration of our cells. So it just alerts the cell of changing conditions and gives time for genetic adaptation to occur. Next day, you take a teaspoon of this soup. Again, nothing will happen because body already started adjusting to this. So now more of this wrong vibration comes. Body just continues responding and shifting parameters, which means there will be hormonal change, definitely. There will be cleansing going on. The cells are going to realize the problem of the toxin, and they will start shrinking their membranes. So not too much of plasma from the blood can be absorbed into the cell. So body starts making adaptations. So now, day after, you take little bowl of this soup. So you're gradually increasing the strength of the toxin, the amount of it is higher, and the body is constantly, genetically readjusting to be able to survive with this vibration. After a week or two, you can take a drop of pure cyanide, put it on your lips, swallow it, nothing happens. Why? Because your body has genetically adjusted to these circumstances. To adjust, it means to create certain changes within the body so that this poison does not affect it. Now, it doesn't mean that these changes are good for the body. These changes are necessary so the body survives this assault of this frequency. But at the same time, it had shifted hormones, it had closed down the cellular membranes for absorption, which means now the cells cannot hydrate, they cannot cleanse. Rate of the heart increases because body is trying to get the toxin out of the blood. Body in this case needs more plasma because it will use it to flush the toxin out. So you get diuretic effect. So you urinate more. Maybe you get diarrhea. Now, if you don't understand the body, oh, you get fever because with fever you start sweating, eliminating. But if you don't understand, if you are being misguided, then you look at the symptoms. Oh, headache. Okay, analgesic. We just stop the signaling so we don't have the headache. Urinating too much. Okay, so we should not give salt to the body. Okay, urine getting dark, burning, toxin coming out. Oh, it's infection. We gotta poison the body with some antibiotics to suppress this sensation of burning. Everything we do, what we are trained to do, is normalize things. You see, proper functioning body, blood pressure should be this much. Rate of heart should be this much. Level of testosterone, this much. Level of estrogen, this much. Level of progesterone, this much. There should not be diarrhea. There should not be fever. There should not be nausea. So for everything, every of these symptoms, you tweak it and you give drug to suppress it. So now none of this cleansing, none of this elimination occurs. Poison remains in the body, and body remains wrongly adjusted, cannot hydrate on a cellular level, cannot even hydrate on a circulatory level because we blame salt. So we deprive salt. If body cannot control the electroconductivity because there is a lack of mineral, lack of ions, body will have to readjust by releasing some of the water out so it can maintain the electroconductivity. This is how the autopilot of the healing works. It keeps adjusting the body to given circumstances of the environment, in the body and outside of the body. But the adjustments are then changing the picture, changing the blood picture. Oh, there's not enough iron in the blood. Oh, there's a lot of accumulation of iron in organs. So we got to get this iron out, but then we need it in the blood. So we got to put it in the blood. So we start adjusting things. This is what doctors do because they don't understand that body has its own healing mechanism. And instead of trying to normalize things in abnormal circumstances, which create deterioration, we should check the environment, see what is happening in the environment. When you're out at sea with a boat, you cannot really influence the environment because those are weather circumstances that you don't control. They're out of your hand. So we think we can actually shift and adjust everything because all our experiences are created by us. It's all frequency. Your brain processes it, but your brain can also create those frequencies. I've experienced many times shaman deciding, well, we need sun for this ceremony, and it was cloudy, and you just take a tobacco, smoke, and puffs, and you have the opening of the sky, and you have beautiful sun, everywhere cloudy, but there is sun there where shaman needs it. Everyone can do this because we create with our intent. What you intend to happen will happen if you believe. Faith. And if you understand that your experience of life, how you experience it, it's dependent on you, nobody else. Same is with health. You may have nausea and diarrhea. And now because you have been indoctrinated, understanding that these are symptoms of disease, you start asking for medicinal remedy. Oh, we have to heal this. And you're poisoning yourself by suppressing this. When you know the truth, then when you have these things occurring, fever, nausea, diarrhea, you start thanking the Creator. Thank you for making me in the way that my body responds to the toxic environment and goes and cleanses. Now I'm healing. Thank you, Father. You create positive thought. It is all how you respond to the circumstance. Whenever you're positive, you are raising your voltage. As you raise your voltage, you are actually making your vibration more resilient to changes. So when we are talking about immune system of the body, it's a voltage. And how do you raise the voltage? By eliminating fear. Being happy, smiling, dancing, laughing. Well, it's hard to do when you feel nauseous. But if you understand the truth, then fear goes away and everything changes. Unfortunately, we are trapped by Cabal. All the science that is given to us is given through Cabal, controlled mechanisms. Schools are controlled by Cabal. Science, politics, finances, the whole environment is controlled by Cabal. Now we know that they want to depopulate us. Well, where does the knowledge of our doctor, health professionals, our nutritionists, our doctors, where does it come from? From books being processed by Cabal. So what kind of knowledge will doctor have? Contrary to the truth. They will know very well how to normalize things. So for emergency situation, to stabilize the body, perfect. But to heal, they have no clue because they simply don't understand the autopilot of healing. They don't understand that nothing can heal the body but the environment. Correct environment is going to adjust body the correct way. Yeah, but now, what is the correct environment? We are using glucoholic samples. Glucoholic is already wrongly adjusted body. We are taking its parameters and saying, this is how body should be. LDL cholesterol, or cholesterol in general, should be 180 or less, for example. Well, why? Because majority people that do not show symptoms of any disease, they are going to have cholesterol in that level. But these people are all glucoholics, which means they are taken out of ketosis and their cells have been reprogrammed to use glucose as an energy source. So there is still fat, but added glucose. It is like you have a gasoline run engine and you have gasoline, but you start adding diesel. More diesel you add to it, the slower combustion, more smoking, less power. Smoking will create tar, and the engine is going to start getting problems until it ceases. To offset it, now we go to doctor to readjust the timing. Well, we go to mechanic and people go to doctor. Instead of correcting the fuel, stop pouring diesel, stop putting carbohydrate in the food. Let it run on fat. This is what it should be running on. This is how it's created. Every mammal is in ketogenic state all the time, except humans and domestic animals. We feed cooked foods because by heating and processing the food, and especially using the wrong fuel, plants, we are breaking the cellulose, releasing starch, which in the body turns into glucose, which now shifts the whole mechanism of the body. No, nothing else will shift it metabolically than glucose. Not fructose, not sucrose, not lactose, glucose. Why glucose? Because originally, body is using glucose for emergency situations. There's a booster fuel for instant energy supply. And this is why glucose in a form of glycogen is stored in a muscle cell and in a brain cell. So brain can quickly find solution and muscles can execute it. And then, since the source of this booster fuel is very low in a cell, it's just for instant, then liver is the only organ that can release higher quantity of glucose into the blood to feed now these essential organs. To do that, it's a hormonal change, because nothing will happen unless hormonally it's being instructed, which is through steroids, which then make us aggressive, because this is what we have to be in life-threatening situation. Understanding the body is something doctors don't know. They simply don't understand the body because they have been misled. I know, I went through the schools, I know what I knew, and I know what I know now. And my knowledge didn't come from any book. It came directly from the source. Not because I'm special, but because I put my attention to this. And I was not stubbornly clinging to what I was told in the school. I hated school. Never sit well with me. Learning directly from the source, learning from the Father, from Creator, is completely different ballgame. Because you do what you like. You are not forced to memorize things because you are being indoctrinated. So you have to be indoctrinated on every level with stuff that don't interest you. Only so you can be manipulated. So, we have thousands of doctors. Our genes are taking care of us. If they have time enough to instruct the body to adapt to the changed circumstance. If change comes too quickly, there is no time for this, and we suffer, we can die. But if there is a time, if change is slow enough, body will adjust. When you have a child, and baby is on a mother's milk, so it is being basically in ketogenic state, it is being fed by proteins and fats. And it's growing. It's receiving plasma, milk is plasma, that is also food. Now, when time comes, because we're weaning off the breast, we start getting solid food. So what do? You cannot give baby, when it's weaning off, you cannot give it, I don't know, mashed potatoes. That's not a fuel that is made. It's like putting plain diesel in gasoline tank. The engine will croak. You do this, the child starts vomiting, starts getting diarrhea, stomach pain, heart acceleration, body tries to get this crap as quickly out of the body as possible. We call it disease. We have to wean the baby slowly off, which means we have to slowly start poisoning it with the wrong food so it can adjust to it. And then we don't see any of these symptoms. So usually mothers start with compote, boiled fruits, because they have the least amount of carbohydrate. And then slowly going more and more in the glucoholic diet. What would be the correct diet? Meat. This is the correct diet. Meat and fats, animal fats. If you do that, you don't have to wind the child off slowly. You just start giving as soon as teeth show up. When there are teeth there, okay, the baby can start having some solid food. What do animals in nature do? They chew, swallow, and then regurgitate. So this way, already the food is prepared for the offsprings to start eating it. That's with carnivores and most omnivores. What happens with the plant-eating animals? Well, they have to remain on the milk and they start slowly grazing. So the changes, adaptations in the stomach or in the rumen, fermentation can start occurring. So the correct bacteria starts forming. And little by little, it takes over and there is no more need for milk. So it depends on a type of a mammal, what it is programmed to use as a food. But it never uses starch. No mammal ever uses starch in nature. It's not accessible. No, they don't like it. It's not accessible because it's always in an envelope of cellulose, which is not digestible. You eat banana raw, it just goes through you and comes out. You will lose weight eating bananas. Yet, Our nutritionist experts tell us, no, well, you want to lose weight, you cannot have bananas because you gain weight, they are full of carbohydrates. Because they don't understand jack doodle. Not because they're stupid, because they are indoctrinated. So, autopilot of healing is nothing more than body's adjustment to the environment. But it has its limitations. Body will adjust, but at the same time, it is going to try to cleanse its environment. So even if you eat incorrectly, the body starts eliminating the undesirable frequencies. Sometimes producing gas. Sometimes it's a noisy intestines. Sometimes it's diarrhea, dark urine, fever, sweating. This is all body is eliminating toxins. And when it eliminates them, then it can start readjusting again to the normal environment. And as it readjusts, this is not like rinsing with a plate with the water and then stopping rinsing. It's all controlled by programs that monitor the amount of plasma in the body, that monitor the level of toxicity, that monitor the speed of the heart. Everything is adjusted to the most efficiency of this robot. Because we are programmed this way. But how can robot eliminate if you deprive it of minerals? So it is losing plasma daily. Urine is plasma, it's not water. It's water with minerals and other stuff that body is eliminating. So you are losing minerals daily. But then you are being told, yeah, but don't have salt because salt is bad for you. It will make the body hold water. So on one side they tell you, okay, the minerals of the salt will increase salinity of your body, which will trap more liquid, which will increase your blood pressure, which will create a water retention, destroy your kidneys. On the other side, you have experts saying, yeah, but salt are minerals. Unless they are chelated through plant and bioactivated, the body cannot use them. So which one is it? And it's very easy through observation to realize the truth. Plants you can grow hydroponically, no minerals. Today's fruits have no taste, have no smell. Why? They have no minerals. So you are eating wet cellulose. Doesn't serve you. You have absolutely no benefit by eating fruits or vegetables if they are in raw state. When you heat them up, you break the fiber, cellulose fiber. So some of the sugars, glucose, is being released that your body can absorb. So now you are getting some nutrition, but it's a wrong nutrition. It's reprogramming your body in a wrong way. But we are being told, no, it's okay because we have sugar in the blood because this is our primary fuel. Fat is a secondary fuel. Well, how can they be your primary fuel when you don't have any reserve of this fuel? Glycogen. That's a human carbohydrate. The level of it is minuscule. Will not sustain you more than maybe 10 minutes. And what happens? When you force release breakdown of glycogen to use the glucose, you go into hypoglycemic state. Hypoglycemic. You don't have enough carbohydrates now. And you lose completely power. You pass out. As long as you are in a correct ketogenic state, this is never going to happen. This only happens to glucoholic bodies. Why? Again, because of environment. It's always the environment. Your heart is beating too fast, according to our parameters. It's not because there's something wrong with the heart. Heart is being responsive to the environment, to the cellular needs. So if there is too much toxin in the blood, it will be instructed to beat faster, to speed up the circulation, to filter the blood faster, to reduce the amount of toxins. As soon as this is corrected, the heartbeat goes down to a regular heartbeat necessary for oxygenation and whatever else, transportation of whatever is mineral or substance that has to be transported. If it beats too slow, well, too slow for what? It means that cells are happy, they receive whatever they needed. There is no need for the heart to beat fast. Heart slows down. When we sleep, heart rate goes all the way down. Why? Because we are not moving. Not much oxygen is necessary. Unless we go into hydrating and cleansing. Well, now, everything changes. So you may wake up early in the morning, versus village radio, loudspeaker. So you may wake up in the morning, or usually very early, like 4 o'clock, sweating, hyperventilating. You feel your heart bouncing here in your temples, tachycardia. Oh, I'm dying, I'm dying. My body is poisoned. Well, your cells may have released some toxin, and increased level of toxicity will triggers emergency autopilot adjustments. So it speeds up the heart, to speed up the blood circulation, to speed up the filtration, elimination of the toxins. It may even create a higher temperature to try to produce sweating, to eliminate. Okay, so more oxygen will be needed, so you will breathe deeper. So what has happened is stuff has changed in your body, in the environment, which blood is the environment that controls everything, and body adjusts according to the programming to cleanse and heal itself. When we see changes, we call symptoms, of misalignment in hormones, or speed of the heart, or blood pressure, these are all symptoms. They do not cause problems. Their body responds to environment geared to healing, cleansing and healing. This is what body does automatically. And now we are being told that these changes are disease that we have to suppress. And we use toxic plants or pharmaceutical remedies to do the suppression. And this way we create stagnation of a system. We trap the poison there. We build up on the poison, and we made chronic health issues possible. Chronic health problems are a result of constant poisoning, which actually is contributed to our healthcare system, because everything doctor knows is contrary to the truth. Every doctor is fearful of cholesterol and fearful of salt, the two major ingredients that our robot needs to survive in a wrong environment. I hope I managed to shed light on this, explain it a little bit better to people that ask these questions. Ultimately, again, it's all about frequency. Poison is out of tune frequency. So there are other ways we can deal with it. And we can achieve instant healing simply by raising voltage, because we will stabilize the proper frequencies our cells, our organs are supposed to have. As soon as you achieve proper frequency, your brain will manifest it as a healthy body in a healthy environment. Well, thank you for listening. Until next time, love you all. God bless you. Namaste.